week 16 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few running backs. I have his sleepers this week. The first guy, Justice Hill of the Baltimore Ravens. Keaton Mitchell out for the season, unfortunately, with a torn ACL. And he was looking good the last few games for this Baltimore Raven team. And now Justice Hill most likely will take that role and get about 40-50% of the touches as well. So the last few weeks, Hill was demoted to the third string back. Week 12 at the Chargers, 5 carries, 31 yards. Week 14 versus the Rams, only a catch, 12 yards. And the last week coming in relief in the third quarter for Keaton Mitchell, 5 carries, 23 yards. So this week, no doubt about it, a tough matchup at the Niners. I give up the 11th least amount of fantasy points to running backs on the season. But we know Justice Hill is a better receiving back out of the backfield than Gus Edwards. And Gus Edwards is short yardage and goal line type of running back. So this week, if you need a running back in the deepest of leagues, Hill's out there in 85% of fantasy leagues. And a sleeper, the next running back's Isaiah Spiller of Los Angeles Chargers. So Austin Eckler, the last few weeks, he's definitely lost his job. And I know there's a whole new coaching staff there for this Charger team. And we'll see what they're going to do this week with the game plan and who's going to play. But right now, Isaiah Spiller, like I said, he got some touches in last week's game. I know it was a monster blowout. They lost 63-21 at the Raiders. But Spiller in that one, most work he's had all season, 16 carries, 50 yards. So this week, a tough matchup versus the Buffalo Bills, no doubt about it. Even though the Bills do give up the 15th most fantasy points to backs on the season, the last few weeks, their defense has been pretty stout. And they're playing at a high level as Buffalo. So this is a Saturday night game. Chargers back at home. And they want to go out there and at least put in a good performance. So after coming off of 16 carries, even though I know it was a blowout, Spiller is definitely someone to keep an eye on. And a sleeper option in the deepest of leagues. Available, like I said, in 99% of fantasy leagues. And the third and final running back I have as a sleeper this week is RoShaun Johnson of the Chicago Bears. So he's been on the list a few times here as RoShaun Johnson. And the playing time over there in Chicago, it just all changed up weekly. It's Foreman one week, Herbert another, and then Johnson another. So the last 2 out of 3 games, he's at least had double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. Week 12 in Minnesota, 10 carries, 35 yards, 5 catches, 40 yards. Week 14 versus Detroit, only a carry, 6 yards. And then week 15 at Cleveland, 5 carries, 36 yards, 4 catches, 24 yards. So we know he's a good receiver out of the backfield, better than Herbert and Deonta Foreman. And this week, a good matchup on paper versus the Cardinals that give up the second most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So right now, while he's available in 78% of fantasy leagues and possibly once again could come out in front in the running back room over there for this Bear team, he's a sleeper this week. So that's a few running backs. I have his sleepers for week 16 of the fantasy football season.